right, so welcome to Inside Electronic Music. Today, I'm very excited to have a good friend of mine here, all the way from Berlin in Germany. She is a resident at Tresor in Berlin. She is a producer. She is a label owner. She is a live performer. She is a DJ and has been doing this for quite a while. I'm excited to talk to her about all of the things that have gotten her to where she is today. And yeah, just have a little chat about who's the real MAEDON. Welcome. Thank you very much. Good to see you, May. Thank you very much for coming on and doing this with me.
Thank you, Eric. It's awesome. Hey.
Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, thanks very much. It's cool. I mean, we chat a lot about
Yeah, we
like
do.
all the nerdy stuff.
All
Like
the
what we were
nerdy
just talking
stuff.
about, like we chat about all the nerdy stuff, but this will be a cool opportunity for people to maybe get a little bit of a look of who you are, what you do. And I think a lot of people who watch and who listen to these podcasts are really interested in kind of the journey that artists go through. A lot of them are aspiring artists themselves, and they have a lot of questions about, how people got to where they are and what inspired them to go and what kind of motivates them. So that's a little bit about what we'll chat about today. So
Sweet.
welcome. So I
Sounds
guess
awesome.
first and foremost, why don't you just give a quick little background of who you are and where you're from? And I guess the first question is really kind of what inspired you to do what you do today? I mean, as a professional musician.
Oh, that's actually a heavy loaded one. But all right. So
We'll
my
just
name
jump right in
is
with the heavy questions.
my name is May. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. And yeah, I've been doing this for over 10 years, but I've been working on music for the past 20. Yeah, it was yeah, for over 20 years. I mean, I grew up playing the piano, um, and singing and all that jazz, playing the guitar at some points. So, what is it that, when I first started producing and working and starting to record music, I was actually aiming to do more of a pop thing with vocals. And I um, was always into, obviously, like electronic music from a very young age. I started listening to Depeche Mode. I thank my oldest brother for introducing me to like Depeche Mode when I was like 6 years old. Um, People are people, and you have to go on like the track "Work Hard." You have to work hard. You have to work hard if you want anything at all.
I'm a huge
Which
Depeche Mode fan, so you're
Well,
speaking
that
my
one,
language
it's
here.
like, well, that one specifically, like they recorded that in Berlin at the same
Mhm,
studio, I'm pretty sure, as Einstein Neubauten. And
mhm.
yeah, that's why it's that era of, I guess, People Are People, Some Great Reward has a very, very like industrial sound because I
Yeah,
could be wrong, but I think that they used a lot of the same samples that were already there in the
probably.
studio. So, I didn't
Yeah,
even
you
find
definitely
this
hear
out
that in
until
that in
after.
that music. In that
Yeah.
music, you hear like there was a lot of crossover at that time with like Depeche Mode and Nitzareb and Front 242, and all of them were kind of like there was, Depeche Mode was definitely the popular version, but you could hear that they were listening to each other for sure.
Yeah.
Whenever you listened to
Yeah.
any of their music at that time.
Yeah. So I come from a very like new wave, dark wave, synth pop, industrial background. That's my inspirations.
Mhm.
I mean, I had this like crazy idea. I wanted to be the girl version of Trent Reznor. I really looked up to Trent Reznor and like Nine Inch Nails, and then his like soundtrack work, and the project that he had with his wife, How to Destroy Angels. And I actually put together like a whole like LP of stuff, and it was my dream to like, and then I just kind of realized um wasn't actually out playing music. I just recorded it, and then someone in my hometown in Baltimore invited me. I went and shared like this recording because I would just have fun playing around on my mono evolver keyboard with a sequencer. But for me back then, I was like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know techno. I only knew like, more popular stuff like Mitzareb and Skinny
Mhm,
Puppy.
mhm.
So, for me, the way I was thinking is like, sequencers, that's cheating. So, gotta play. Like, I used to like, you know,
Yeah.
uh, playing Beethoven, Bartok, and like Schubert on the piano, and so I went and shared this little ditty that I did, and this girl, she went and she booked me for my first show, and this was in 2014. And yeah, I just improvised. It was just very experimental. At first, I didn't have a drum machine, and then later, and then after the first gig, I went and then I brought a Roland TR-8 era like into the mix, and next thing I knew, I played my first rave in February of 2015 in Baltimore, and I was hooked. But then later on in the following year, I went and I made some very like dark wave, like synth pop stuff. That was when I actually had I'd bought the and gotten the rhythm, the Mark One rhythm in 2016.
Mhm,
And in a matter of like about 3 or 4 weeks, I taught myself the rhythm, put together like a little cassette called Enteleki. And then I booked a 2.5 month tour across the United States. And the way I would do my shows was the first half would be the tracks that I would just take the analog keys and hit play. I had everything laid out in like song mode on the analog keys and on the
mhm.
rhythm. And then the later half was the more fun part where I just did live PA. And doing
Nice.
that for 2.5 months on the road, I just got way more down just with just fucking playing and wanting and getting people to dance. And it just
Mhm.
went from there. So even like the indie rock sort of like kind of like I don't even know. It was like take industrial and shoegaze and synth pop and put it all together, and that was this project that I had, Lily Wave, and it's on the shelves. It will always probably be on the shelves,
Nice.
maybe. Like, and never I don't know. Maybe I'll rework them someday and like turn them into something that's like more like really me because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Um,
Yeah, that's fun sometimes to go back and revisit some of the old stuff and
yeah, I mean the
update it
lyric, yeah, like the
with all the
lyrics.
things you've learned and developed over time. And
Yeah, it was mostly the lyrics. It's like the lyrics were
mhm,
actually like the lyrics were really great. And some of the song arrangement. I mean, the songs themselves actually were really good. I did it all myself. I played the bass, played the guitar, did the keys, did my vocals, and now it's like I could do it so much better now. But
mhm.
I don't know. I think ultimately the reason why I do music is well, music's what keeps the world going around, and it's healing, and it's
Right.
inspiring, and it's also a big fuck you to the system. So, I kind of feel like techno is actually much more a big oh, fuck you to the system and has a lot more to say without saying any words at all.
Mhm.
But realistically, this is kind of actually more techno when it first got its start. Nowadays, no comment. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I
so
mean, there's a great video that Jeremy Blake, Red Beans Recording, did about like the history of techno. And what was really cool about it was he was talking because he was learning about it. And then he decided to say, like, wow, this is way more deep than I ever thought it was. And so he did a really good video about it, I thought. And it was cool to see how his whole idea was that it started here and then split. And then those splits split. And then all of those splits split. And it just has become so many different things that it's kind of hard to describe what it is because it's different things for different people. And I think that like the stuff that you make, the stuff that I make is not. what other people think of when they think of techno, because they're thinking of, like main stage, Tomorrowland, pop, hands in the air techno.
I'm sorry, that's
But
shitting
they're,
techno.
but yeah,
That's
and
shitting
that's the
techno.
thing is that it's just because they don't know, because that's what they've seen and what they've heard.
Yeah.
And it's always funny to me, especially having been around this for a long time as you have. It's funny because you see like the different waves of people who come through, and you see how like the crowd ages, but then all of a sudden you have these new kids that kind of wander in, and they're like, I found you because I was into this other thing, and then I realized that I got bored with that, and I wanted to find something else, and I got bored with that, and they dig deeper and deeper, and then they end up finding the stuff that we do, which is great. It's always like, welcome to the new generation of finding what's out there.
Well, I think the natural progression of things is it actually should be where it's like when they're younger, I think that actually them getting into EDM at first is
Mhm.
actually good. Because then I think
Yeah,
that if they
I
get into
totally agree.
EDM, then the EDM stays out of what we do.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
really techno is a much more thought provoking, much deeper, much more challenging. Like it should really be, techno should inspire people to evolve,
Mhm.
and to expand their
I agree.
minds and expand everything. But the EDM mentality is really crept into the scene and,
Mhm.
you know, yeah. Another one
Yeah,
of,
I think
oh,
it's
zip it.
it's
No, zip it.
I think that the kind of EDM, or like more, pop commercial techno side of stuff, it's like it's like a gateway drug just for people to have something easy. It's like you don't have to think too much, but I think that it gets boring for people pretty quickly. Like
Right.
they're like, okay, yeah, this is fun. Now what? And that's why I agree. I think it's great when they get into that stuff first, because I know eventually they'll find what we do. It just takes them a little while. They just
Yeah.
have to they have to go through that phase like we all did. I think about when I was a kid, I was listening to stuff that was pop commercial stuff, and then I always liked this other kind of weird stuff on the side, and then it just became more and more the weird stuff was what I loved and what I did.
Yeah.
But you have to find it. I'll never forget. It's funny you talk about Depeche Mode, and I can still remember listening to Black Celebration, and like just the sounds from that album. I still to this day will, I'll be playing something and I'll be making some sound as I'm improvising when I'm playing live, and I'll hear sounds from those old albums come out. And I'll be like, oh man, I like this because I've liked this since back then. Like it's stuck with me all those years, and it just comes out of you at the weird time. So I think
Yeah.
it's all good. Music's good as long as
Music
people
is
are having a
good.
good time. That's the
Music is
important
good. It
part.
all, it all, it all has a purpose. And,
Yeah,
it's like, you know, from kindergarten to getting your PhD. And I think that techno is
exactly.
kind of more of like, techno is definitely more of like, it really should be considered more of like getting at least like, your master's,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah, I think about it in the concept of like visual art, and you have things that are very literal, like graphic design, illustrations for a textbook. Like it's very literal what it is. And then all of a sudden you've got other things that are on the other extreme where they're abstract and they're up for, you can decide on your own what you see in it. And I think that a lot of that happens with techno too, is that you get to bring your own thought to it. And like you said, it's thought provoking. It makes you
Yeah.
think of something, but it's not the same for everybody, which I think is awesome. So you
Yeah.
started off, you came from a more traditional music background and came into the electronic thing in the live performance realm. When did you start DJing? When did you say like, oh, there's another skill I want to pick up. I want to do something different.
Um, I really didn't, I mean, I DJ, so I moved here to Berlin in on March 14th. I arrived on March 15th of 2020, like right during the pandemic. It was like I was like running with my cat
You
at
were
the
the last
time
one in
and
the
like on
door
my,
before it closed.
oh my gosh, I think I was on the last flight to Germany. Um and so I started I DJ'd a few times. Um like Bossa Nova Civic Club in Bushwick in Brooklyn. And a few other, but it was that was the extent of it.
Mm,
I wanted to DJ, but like I was just so focused on my playing, you know, and building my live set and focusing on that. Um, yeah, I did things backwards. It's like, uh, yeah, most people usually start DJing, then producing, and then,
mhm.
you know, then maybe going and maybe playing live. Yeah, no, I was producing and playing live and then way later DJing. And I just wanted the other skill set. Also, too, it is fun to DJ. It's really fun to, it's just a whole different, it's can really tell a story or take people on journeys
Mhm.
and share the music, share the music that you love, you know?
Yeah.
Um, Also, too, but I really didn't start DJing really though until I moved here. And
Mm.
also getting the residency at Tresor, which like has been a monumental uh part of my growth and everything. Um
Mhm.
so I'm like very thankful and very grateful and every day. Um
So
so
let's talk about that for a little bit because I think that I'm sure people have questions about that, about what it's like to have a residency at a club that's so well known. I mean, obviously there's the, you know, yes, it's an honor and I'm sure there's stress that goes along with it and stuff, but more kind of the nuts and bolts, like how often do you play there as a resident?
it generally like 4, maybe 5 times, but about 4 times a year, so once a quarter.
Okay.
Um
And is it like on a schedule or do they just give you a call and say, hey, we want to put you on this
no,
or do you have time available here?
it's more random. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and
And
then
and go ahead.
oh yeah, and then usually like, you know, one of those times it's like I play live usually at least like, you know, once a year. So,
Mhm. And you just debuted your new live set just on your last show, if I'm not wrong, correct?
well,
Your first
on my
time playing it
second,
at Tresor, I guess.
well, my second, my last, my most recent set at Tresor was on December 30th, part of the
Mhm.
marathon vodka. Yeah.
Mhm.
And but it was October 26th that I played. And it was really
Mhm.
awesome. I played my live set with the modular. I completely overhauled. I took my rhythms and I deleted everything. I deleted all the samples and I started from scratch. Then I taught myself how to really use a modular in a live setting in a matter of a few in like about I guess it was really about 2.5, maybe 3 months.
Mhm.
And I just buckled down and because I've only recently like I started to build my modular. It was I guess January of 23. Yeah, I basically I started building my modular because when I moved here, I got rid of like all my gear pretty much except for the stuff that was essential.
Mhm.
And then in the fall of 22, I um built a studio and started to build a studio. And it took me like, I mean, gosh, it took me like a good, like almost like a year to finally like get it. Like, but I mean, I really built myself a dream studio. Sadly, I'm like not in there right now doing this, but maybe next time, maybe we can do this again and I can do like a studio tour or something. But yeah, so I had started to noodle
Next
around.
time when I'm in Berlin for Super Booth, we'll do this live at your studio.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That'll be fun.
Cool.
We'll just
Cool,
hang
cool.
out and do a chat
Yeah.
and screw around on gear.
Yeah, I'm also yeah,
That'll
and
be fun.
yeah, and that will be yeah, absolutely fun times. Yeah, we should like actually plan on doing that with like all of our friends. Get like
That would
Shonda,
be awesome.
Colleen, get a lot of people involved. Get um David maybe, and like yeah,
Mhm.
this should be fun. So
Would be awesome.
yeah, it was October. So I had at that point used the modular in the studio in the sense of going okay and like taking and creating a sound and then recording it and using and then dropping the stems into my octatrack and
Mhm.
then using, but no, it was like basically from August and September of last year, 2024, I
Mhm.
really like just completely dived in. And then October 26th, I had my first gig with the completely new setup, which I'd changed down. So it was the rhythm, it was the 7 unit 104 HP case with 3 voices in it. The Oxy One sequencer, which is amazing, and then the Octatrack. So after that set, then I went on tour in the States, and even while I was on tour, I actually like went to what is it? Is it Control Voltage in Portland?
Yeah, the one in Portland. Yeah.
Yeah, like I went in there. I went in there. I got myself like a new oscillator. Took my E352 out. And actually, when I was still in LA, I went and got myself an OTO boom because I completely changed and kind of revolted against doing hard, heavy industrial techno.
Mhm.
I was really like, prior to my time, prior to being signed to Sonic Groove, I up until that point, I had gone and basically used the modular to just, make one sound. I didn't
Mhm.
do stuff where I had like multiple voices playing and whatnot, and using lots of effects. I was very conservative, I guess you could say, with
Mhm.
dabbling into it at first. Since then, now, yeah, no, that's gone. I'm like went out the like, yeah, being safe and being conservative with it. No, that's not what Euro Rock's about.
Yeah,
So,
and that's how you and I started going back and forth a whole bunch after Superbooth last year. When we first hung out at your studio with all of our friends, like they were like, "Hey, come along," and then you and I ended up just talking about like sequencers and like nerding out on gear, and that ended up being all of our back and forth conversations. Was you'd call me like, "What do you think about this? Have you tried this? Did you, I know you have this. Do you like it? What do you not like about it?" Because you were going through all these things about figuring out your stuff, and then when you were on tour, sending me messages about all the time, like, "Hey, I got this. I finally got this thing," and that you were, rebuilding stuff. So it's been really fun for me, kind of watching your whole evolution of your setup as you kind of narrowed in on this is how I want to do it. This is what I want it to sound like. And it's hard with modular because there's just so many
many
options
options. Yeah,
and
so many
everybody's looking
options.
at it from a different perspective. Like you have a
Yeah,
specific sound that you might have in mind, but there's, 75 different ways to get there. So which one do you want to choose?
yeah.
Which
Now,
combo do you want to choose to make it work? So,
yeah. Now, my next live set is on February 14th at Fold in London,
mhm,
and I really want to change things up. Like I want to get rid of the Octajack.
mhm,
Um, and ideally, I would like to have it where I have maybe a little bit larger of a modular to play live.
mhm.
But sadly, like I can't I so Colleen was like telling me get the num num case, and I think they're like out of business. I don't think they're making cases anymore.
Mhm.
Um, um, and Erica isn't making the 84 HP anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I recently did a tour. Like I toured the whole like facility and absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
I got myself a sample drum. So yeah, so now there's certain things now too that like I want to do. Um, yeah, and I want to ditch the Octatrack because like it's like I have a love hate relationship with it. So
Yeah,
um,
it's one of those things too. It's out of my life setup as well, but I'll always keep it because it's always that thing where I need something that does some random thing, and it's like, oh, the Octatrack does that, so I'll just pull it out and use it. But yeah, it's hard in a live setup. Like, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I have that same love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah, it's mostly hating just the overall sound and like the effects, and it's just like I can get over the interface and like the very old,
Mhm.
you know, GUI, and the fact
Yeah.
that they like have their own language for like so many different things and their abbreviations. I'm trying to it's like yeah. Um yeah, I want to change that.
Yeah.
I have this idea of like
Yes.
what I want to do is like I was using it for like long for this, for my current set. I'm using it for like really long samples of like kind of like pads, atmospheric stuff, and
Mhm,
I Function recently played a live set at Tresor on December 28th,
mhm.
and it was, he just goes out with Ableton Live and a controller, and it was just so inspiring because like he just is just the fucking master of creating this huge like atmosphere and filling up the room with like just like these reverbs and like this like ambient like, and it's like that's what I like wanted before I heard, but then after hearing him play, it's like, yes, this is what I want to do. So now I'm between
Mhm.
now and the middle of February, I want to figure out how to do that. Probably exchange maybe take the I don't even know how to say it. The intro safe. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mhm. Think so.
It's like the stacked saw wave, and
Mhm.
because while it's really cool, it's kind of like listening to my recent set that I played on horror. It's like it's just like kind of really samey after a
Mhm.
while. And I'd rather if I'm gonna have a sound that's gonna, like, be more of, like I want it to be maybe, um, actually have a little less character in a way of, like,
Right.
not being so,
Something that's a little
like
more versatile.
something that's, like, a little bit more, like, versatile, but, like, more, I don't know, just it would just the stacks saw wave is, like it would be better to have that if I okay, I wanna add some, like, extra little ditties in here, but I had that the safe, I hope I'm probably not pronouncing it correct, as it was, like, my main lead, and
Mhm.
it would be better to have that if I had something a little bit more flexible, more vanilla in a way for my main lead, and then have that
Right.
of something to bring in, like, oh, okay, every once in a while of, like, having a few notes, but not, like, not all the notes of, like, the
Right.
lead. So
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll
no,
figure it
I know
out.
what you're talking about.
And I probably should go and get myself one of the, noise engineering, uh, oscillators.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I love my BIA.
Yeah. So,
I
but
use that one a ton. Cool. So what about you mentioned just a little while ago, so that you were moving away from one sound and towards another sound. And for people who may not know what your old sound was and where your new sound was, how would you describe that? Like how would you describe what you've changed going from a more industrial sound to what you're doing today?
Well, I went from a very more into like in my first, EP on Sonic Groove, it was like EBM or techno body music. So, and then I released another digital EP, and that was just digital, Escape to Berlin. It was like, a nod to the whole COVID thing. Um, and that was still very like electronic body music. Then,
Mhm.
let's see, what was it that so it was, I guess, February of 22 that my full length on Sonic Groove came out, and that was a lot of EBM, but then also some other just harder techno. So I started to get harder and harder because at the time it's like
Mhm.
I was like I was like I guess I just had to get some angst and COVID and being cooped up in like a really tiny flat with my boyfriend at the time, and Um, um, yeah, and then later on, my boyfriend at the time, Adam X, we recorded and did an album together that came out on Tresor, and it was
Hmm.
released as MAEDON X. Um, and that was still kind of very like more just it was just industrial techno, but it wasn't
Hmm.
really. I mean, there wasn't really EBM in there. I mean, maybe one track. Then there was this one track that we did together that was like very actually like hypnotic techno. Um,
Hmm.
and then in 20, what was it, 2023 was when I started. Oh my goodness, I'm like, time. um, 2023 is when I started my record label, Rant and Rave, and I was the first release, and it was tracks that I had put together in like 2021 and 2022. And those were harder. It was like kind of more rave techno. Had
Hmm.
like somewhat of like the Hoover sounds and um but then once I got into my studio and started building modular, it was like, okay, back to like deeper, more thought provoking, more just yeah, analog goodness. I guess
Hmm.
one of the reasons why my sound went from like doing EBM to getting harder and harder was also the space that I was making music, which was in a really teeny
Hmm.
tiny small kitchen in headphones because I didn't have couldn't have monitors in the flat, and I was mostly doing everything on the Octatrack, a Digitone, a Rhythm Mark One. So yeah, so it just went to very sample based and just manipulating, and then getting into the studio in later 2022, and then all of like 23. And last year, it was like I just really started to explore deeper sounds. Also, too, DJing at Tresor. And at first, when I first started DJing, I was like playing the harder stuff. And I just kind of realized I like didn't really like DJing the harder stuff. I wanted to
Hmm.
get deeper and go on journeys and yeah.
Right. Yeah, that the harder stuff for us, as it can appear exciting on the surface, but at the same time, it can get samey after a while.
Oh, very
And you're like,
samey.
okay, let's mix it up. And it goes from being like party music to being, like you said, like thought provoking, right? And all of a sudden, you're in a place where it's like, oh, this music, I'm experiencing this in a really different way than the stuff that just let's go have a great time and party. It can be
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm having, it's making me feel something, which is, one of the things that I love about the deeper stuff for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so the more DJing, at Trezor and elsewhere, and other places, more I just found and I discovered that I really loved really mixing tracks and blending tracks together, and
Mm.
can't really do that with hard techno. I mean, you can, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So talking about Berlin a little bit, I always love going there, but when I'm going there to visit. I'm not going there to live as you do. And I've always had this kind of question about living particularly as a techno artist in Berlin, and finding that balance between being inspired, obviously, by a city that has so much history in this, and it's like, one of the beating hearts of techno is in Berlin for sure, and the other side of that being kind of distracted or pulled in a lot of different directions because there's so many different inspirations. There's so many different, you could go in one night and see, 10 different really amazing styles of techno. And as an artist and trying to kind of say, oh, this is the way I want to go, this is what I'm feeling. I've always felt that there was this push and pull in two different directions of inspiration and like overstimulation as far as music goes in a city
Well,
like Berlin. So how do you balance that living there?
I don't have fucking FOMO.
That's true.
I don't go out all the time.
Yeah.
I um am very selective with parties I go to.
Mhm.
Um yeah. Uh I don't I do my best to actually kind of somewhat keep blinders on and seeing the different trends and this and that. I
Mhm.
mean, for a while, like especially after COVID, like the direction of, the scene, um, me actually going and wanting to just go back into making deeper and more like just pure techno was
Mhm.
somewhat of a revolt of the amount of people that were just like making like industrial and EDM and like hard and like and like then um so the balance is really I don't have FOMO. um I'm very selective with the parties that I go to. I think the next one that I'd actually like I'm gonna go see Sandwell District at Ohm.
Mhm.
And then
Oh, that'd be cool.
yeah, I mean Dave and Carl and Juan, rest in peace. Like, fuck, fuck. Um, are really awesome. And then I'm think Starak and Mike Roldan are they're playing Berghain in the same weekend. So I'd like to go to
Mhm.
that because I've yet to see. I've only seen Roadhead um do his thing at Berghain with Colleen and doing like the
Mhm.
all the lot. Oh my gosh, that was so inspiring. So yeah, I'm really select basically it boils down to I'm really selective with the parties that I go to. A lot of times it's to go and see my friends play. And
Right.
I mean, my friends are very I mean, Lady Starlight, Function. I still occasionally I'll go out and I guess well, no, I should probably go out and see one of Ad I haven't seen one of Adam's sets in a bit, but yeah, yeah, just being really selective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's I saw an interview not too long ago with Stimming, and he was saying that he never goes out. Like he doesn't
yeah,
even really listen to music. He's like, I just spend time making my music because I have no idea what's going on in the outside world. And I can relate to that. Like I go out not very often either. And it's usually either to play or to see friends play, like what you were saying. And then outside of that, it's like I want to explore music rather than go out and hear things that I then try to replicate, which is what I think a lot of people end up doing. And
yeah,
that can be really distracting. And I think when you can block that out and just, go out and have fun when it's to go out and have fun, but at the same time, not be too, like you said, influenced by what's the trend, what's the new thing, what's everybody doing now
yeah,
is, I think where you get the best music.
yeah. I mean, I have never been. I've actually like never been one. I can't replicate something someone else does. I've even tried. I
Mhm.
mean, I can't help but do my own thing. It's like weird, like,
Right.
um, um, but when I do go out and I see a friend of mine or an amazing artist play something, that can just be just like really inspiring. And then I'll be out at the club and I'll be
Yeah.
like, you know what? I just want to get the fuck out of here and like go actually like fuck around, you know?
Yeah. I had that feeling in Amsterdam at ADE when I went to Colin Benders play.
Mhm.
And as soon as I
Yeah, I miss
left
that one. I
there, I
should have
was like,
gone. I should have gone.
I could not wait to get back to my gear in my hotel room because I was playing the next night and I had everything all like set up in my hotel room. And so I couldn't wait to get back because I was like, it was so inspiring. But at the same time, it just made me want to go do my thing and not necessarily like, oh, like I'm gonna go, it would be impossible to replicate what he does because he's so
Yeah, no,
all over the
yeah.
place when he plays
Yeah.
in it. And it's his shows are so funny because they're so all over the place and yet they remain coherent. And I just don't know how he does that in like with his style. It's pretty amazing, but you couldn't replicate it if you tried. Like there's no way that anyone other than him inside his own head could make things sound the way he makes them. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like even when I was you know, at store, that was that was really fucking awesome. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that was
yeah.
fun. Like we were at store together. And we're like watching like that whole group of people that we were up on the top balcony, and like we were all just like mouth gaping, just like, oh my God. Like we were all just like, this is just unreal. Every time I've been to one of the store events, I always feel like I'm at school. I'm just like, just like absorbing every single thing
Oh,
that's going
absolutely.
on.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. They're
Yeah.
the Super Bowl of improvised live performance, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Roadhead did a really like what he did then at Berghain. It was the end of September
Yeah.
was really
Mhm.
really fucking awesome. We need more of that. We really need more.
I agree.
We really need in the scene a more focus on live acts, live PA. So,
Yeah, it's something
but
that I feel like it's coming because like we were talking about before, there's only so long that people can be into a certain thing before they try to dig deeper. And I think that there's this whole generation of people now that are looking to go to that to go see live acts because they've seen DJs, right? And they've seen what you can see from a DJ. They've seen really good DJ sets. They've seen a lot of really average DJ sets. And I think that when you go see somebody play live, it just adds such another dimension to the experience. And there's this element of danger that they're doing it
oh,
live and
absolutely.
things could go wrong. Things could go wrong, which is cool. Like it's exciting to watch, but also the same thing to be able to watch a live performer and know, especially when it's an improvised live performance, when you're watching it and you know that what you're hearing is kind of an expression of what's going on inside their head. Like they're being inspired by something, they get a creative idea, and then through their instruments, it comes out and you get to hear what was in their head. Which for me, I think that's a whole other level
Mhm.
than when somebody's does a great DJ set, you get a bit of that, but you're also getting you're hearing what was the song they thought of in the moment that they chose to play in the moment. Whereas when it's a live performance, it's what was the sound or the emotion or the pattern or the rhythm or the whatever, and you're getting to hear a real expression of them in the moment and not necessarily the producer's track that they thought of in that moment, but it's actually what they're thinking. So I think there's going to be more of it. I do. It just feels
I
like it's
do.
the direction
And
people
I
are moving
see,
right
and
now.
I mean, Tresor is always like, oh, I think, pretty much they always have, you know, like a live act in Tresor, and then oftentimes two up in Globus.
Mhm.
And it looks like, Berghein's been pretty, like oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, Starax gonna play live there in
It
like
seems
two
like on
weeks.
the Berghain lineup, there's almost always at least one
One,
live act.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, at least one in every lineup, and then there's nights where it's like there'll be three or four in a night.
yeah, yeah.
I think something that limits there though is I think a lot of live acts can't play a 4 hour set, and Berghain sets are 4 hours, so people are like, yeah, I'm gonna DJ. I don't want to commit to 4 hours of playing live. So
No, no, no. They only play an hour live.
right, that's what I mean, and I think that's why because I think Berghain likes
Because
the sets to be so long. And a lot of people won't do a long set live, so it'll be just like, okay, I want to play the full set, so I'm going to DJ instead of
Well,
doing
I
the
think,
shorter
yeah,
set
but
and
some
playing live.
people might like, because I mean, I haven't played Berghain yet. I don't know. It's like, I mean, I Tresor. Like, I mean, I would love to play Berghain too, but you know,
Yeah,
but I think given the some people, are you trying to get to the point of like that someone who's never played Berghain has the option to play live or play or DJ? Well, I'm going to DJ because I'm going to get to play longer.
right. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
And I think I think there's
I
also
would be like, I like that, if, you know, I would choose playing live at Berghain. And ideally,
yeah,
hopefully, maybe the 8 o'clock Sunday night slot and not the 3 or 4 a.m. Saturday night, Sunday morning slot. I would want to play the 8
right.
p.m. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of kind of generic questions I want to ask you because people ask. I was actually on one of my teaching calls the other day, and I mentioned that I was going to be doing this with you, and I got some random questions from people that they wanted me
Oh,
to ask
cool.
you, and they're the basic questions, but
No,
what people want to know.
these are actually it's very important, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, shoot.
So the two that got asked more often is because you've been a hardware performer for a long time. Do you have a favorite piece of gear as a gearhead? And then the other one was, do you have a favorite venue? And I would say other than Tresor, because obviously I know just knowing you, I know that has like a special place for you, and I know that there's a huge thing. So that's the obvious answer. But other than Tresor, do you have a favorite venue that you've
I would
played?
have to say it would be a toss between Kitty and Fold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um and then the secret uh um warehouse location in LA, That's all.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then my favorite piece of gear, I would have to go and say the Mono Evolver keyboard. Um, it's my mean bastard synth. I've had it for a very long time, and it was my
Mhm.
first inspiration, and I absolutely love it. But then I would also tie like the rhythm. That is like the central. That's the brains. That is the core now, like completely the core of everything I play and do live. So, and it's also the master.
I'm right there with you. If I always tell people, if I had to sell every single piece of gear in my studio, the rhythm would be the last thing to go. That for me is, it's like,
If I had to sell everything in
you
my
can rule out a
studio,
lot of other.
if I had to sell everything in my studio, I wouldn't. Yeah, no. I would just
Yeah.
like no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
Wouldn't do that if you didn't have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? What's next for you?
What's
That was
next?
another question that I got. So you had mentioned to me the other day you're going into the studio now, right?
Well, yeah, and for me actually going into the studio is I'm not gonna actually go into the studio just yet. I'm gonna
Hmm.
stay at home and
Hmm.
I got myself actually this pour it out. Not actually connected. I got myself a nice little interface. I have like these cute, nice little like decent monitors. I got this
Nice.
so I can just chill here in the winter months, have a little bit of sun, have a little bit of normal because like my studio is like uh even if I take an Uber, it's like 40 minutes to get there. So um um so I just kind of just want to work from home right now and starting this weekend, I'm gonna get back to business and crank up my rhythm and start playing around and recording new tracks. I'm gonna be changing up some of my sounds. Like I said, I'd really like to
Mhm.
go and in a perfect world, I'd be able to find like two 84 6-unit HP, so I could have like 12 unit or 12 U of 84
Mhm.
HP, so I could put it in a rolly case and tour with that, and then put you know the rhythm, the OTO boom, and this little like summing mixer, because I use a mixer
Mhm.
to basically on my rhythm. The way I play is everything except for the kick comes out of the rhythm. I have two,
Right.
the bass BD1 and SD2. Those pads, those voices, they're the kick. So I essentially have 4 kicks, so 2 voices mono, and so I have to take those monos and get them in, mix them together and send them into. I use a Zone 96, and then I use a send. So I'm like really going off on a tangent here, but let me come back around. Of
That's okay. We're all nerds.
of yeah, of the shit. What was it? That Yeah. So I'm just gonna like record. I want to slim down and change things up, change some sounds, but really just
Mhm.
over the next probably at least until the end of January, I'm just gonna stay here and record a lot of record a lot of my rhythm and my drum stuff here. Then go into the studio
Mhm.
with the big modular and start playing around, fucking around, and finding new sounds. So, um, yeah, and experimenting because, yeah, that's what we do, right?
Yeah,
So,
of course, especially when you have modular. You can't help but
yeah,
experiment, right?
yeah.
And where can people see you? So you've got, you said Fold in London, you've got coming up in the middle of February,
Um,
and that's your
yeah,
next your next event.
fold. I've got a DJ set here. As long as like as long as Tresor doesn't come back to me with a date that's too close, I'll play this DJ set. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting to. I've got um a few things later on in the year, but yeah, I've got to have a meeting with my agent, and then I'm also too now just working on planning and figuring out my US tour. Um,
Mhm.
we'll see how it goes. I was really hoping to get like a nice movement gig, but I'm thinking that it actually might be easier to skip movement and let all the artists that come over for movement play all of their gigs all around, and then I come over to the States and bang it
Right.
out.
Once everybody goes back home.
Then go over, and yeah. So yeah, because it might be a little bit more difficult for me, because like my visa, it needs to be renewed in like October. So
Mhm.
that can sometimes make things a little weird with leaving. I mean,
Mhm.
I should be okay, but like, so yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I gotta, it's still kind of like the holidays here. Most people in Germany, it's like the first. It's next week is when basically everyone really comes back to work. So I've gotta, yeah,
Because you live in one of those civilized countries where people actually get lots of vacation every year. You can actually take
uh
time
huh,
off and
yeah, and
do
like don't
stuff. Isn't that
like
nice?
work, and yeah, and yeah, they're not so much slave to the wage
Yeah,
here.
exactly. And what
Yeah.
about, as it's kind of a last thing, we didn't talk much about your label. Do you have anything coming up on there that you want to talk about and let people know about? Or what's
Um,
your next the
yeah,
label thing?
I've got a, I'll be announcing pretty soon the Rant and Rave, the ninth release. And it's from,
Mhm.
this amazing artist she's a Fold resident. Her home base is Barcelona and, Andromeda. And so, she's the next release. And then after that, hopefully it'll be another Lady Starlight. I've been talking with Colleen, but it might be a while. So I'm
That's
not so pressed. When I wanted to start, well, I wanted to start the label with releasing and putting like, putting out a lot. And now I just really want to hone it in and really focus on releasing stuff I really, really love, and also
mhm,
focusing on female, we call it like Flinta over here in Germany. Um, yeah, focusing on women and
nice.
female identifying, you know. So yeah, at
That's
least for
awesome.
now.
Well,
Yeah.
definitely keep everybody posted. I'll let people know as I know what you're going to be putting out, so we can make sure that they support all of the stuff. As I mentioned when I was talking with a few of my students and people that I know that I was going to be doing this interview with you, everybody was super excited. You have a lot of fans over here, so they were
Oh, cool.
excited to hear all this stuff about you and the latest and what's new. And some had seen you. I think one of my students had been at your show in LA, the most recent one that you did,
Hmm.
and loved it, had an amazing time. So I thought I would
That's
pass that
awesome.
on to you from them as well. Um, and what else? Where else can people find you? Do social media and all that stuff? This is your moment to put that out there.
Um,
Where do you want people to look you up?
I mean Instagram.
Mhm.
M underscore A underscore E underscore D underscore O underscore N. I also have a YouTube channel. I'd like to eventually start doing more. I have some plans of things that like I want to do, and
Mhm.
it'll should all come into fruition around May of this year.
Mhm.
So put you in, kind of figure what it might be, but like um yeah, I don't have a TikTok. No, I'm sorry. I don't. Yeah,
Me neither.
and I have a Facebook, but I don't pay attention to it. It's like, yeah. So it's basically all Instagram for me. Um,
Mhm.
but I want to start putting. I'd like to eventually start putting more up on YouTube and doing things. So
Yeah.
yeah, but mostly, you know, um, go to your local promoters and say, yeah, book MAEDON. That's the best way.
I think that's something actually really important, because I think that people don't realize this enough. They're very quick to complain that they're not getting the music they want to see, or the artists that they want to see, the music they want to hear in their local area. And I think people don't realize how much sway they have over promoters. And promoters are ultimately in it because they want to throw events that are good and that people come to and that they can make some money off of. And so if a whole bunch of people say, I want to see this artist or I want to see this artist, the promoters will book them. Like, it's not just that they're only booking the artists that they like. So if you have somebody that you want to see in your area, so if you want to see May in your
Yeah,
area, tell your promoters, and
yeah,
it actually helps. Like, let people know, because a lot of people don't know what you want to hear, and that's how you end up with only trendy music, is because that's all they're hearing. So they're not hearing about these artists that may be outside of the mainstream. And if they hear enough people saying that they want to hear certain artists that are outside the mainstream, they'll book them. So you
yeah,
uh you have sway over your local promoter. So
yeah. I know. It's like
do that.
I've got. I know I have. For example, I know I have fans in like Denver. I know I have fans
Mhm,
in like even like Seattle. Like so I've never played Denver.
mhm.
I haven't played Seattle yet. Yeah. Trying to think of other. It's like Salt. I'd love to play like Salt Lake City. But yeah.
Mhm.
Um.
Well,
I
after
think.
we're done here, we'll stay online because I'll talk to you about some of those spots and
Okay.
see what we can do, because I have some ideas.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
well, anyway, I think we'll call it there. Thank you so much for making
Awesome.
the time to make this
Thank you.
happen. I really appreciate it. And as we mentioned before, everybody check out May's stuff. You can find her on Instagram, you can find her on YouTube, and also, you can
Also,
get the music
Bandcamp.
in all the cool
Forget.
spots. Bandcamp, yeah.
Yeah,
Bandcamp's the
my
spot.
my Bandcamp is maidon.bandcamp.com. So, and if you
Mhm.
go to that,
And
then
do you
you
have
can
a
also
separate one
then
for your
find.
label?
Yeah, I
You
have
have
a
a
separate
separate
one.
Bandcamp for your label?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yep. But if you
All right.
go
So
just to
check that out.
Maidon, you'll find the rant and raves. there, so you
Mhm.
can. It's all
And
connected.
here, I'll show everybody. Just so everybody can get a little visual aid. This is the label. This is May's
Yes.
label.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
that was
records
good.
when I was over there. I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
have them right here.
I've got more to
So
give to you next time I see you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Always,
So,
always excited to have new music.
yes.
Well, thanks very much, May.
Thank you, Eric.
And everybody check out all of her stuff. Support your underground artists because they that's the only way people find out about them because they're not out
Yeah.
there selling their souls for marketing. So
Yeah.
this
Well,
all comes
precisely.
from people talking about people. So
I'm not a
support your
business
local
person.
artists.
I'm not a marketing advertiser. Yeah. 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 All
Yeah.
none of that.
All about the music. Cool. Well,
All
thanks
about
very
the
much,
music.
May. And
Thank you, Eric.
join us next time for the next interview.
Awesome.
I've got a couple of interesting ones coming up soon. So definitely check back with the next one. And thank you for tuning in today. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.